Guys, this is going to be a video on how to pick your reasons when you're doing proofs. We have 4 types of things that we can use for reasons, and you've been given this paper. We're going to call this your reasons for proof paper for the rest of the year. It should be on purple paper. And you'll notice at the top there's these 4 things listed. There's postulates, theorems, definitions, and properties. Those 4 things are like the building blocks. They are the building blocks for our proofs. They're all slightly different, so let me quickly explain the difference between each. A postulate is something that's accepted as true without proof. If you think about it, if we're going to prove things to be true, we have to have something to start with. And postulates are those things that we're saying we are choosing that these things are true. A good example of a postulate is the linear pair postulate, which tells us that 2 angles that form a linear pair are going to add up to, their measures are going to add up to 180 degrees. That is our starting point. And we're going to use that to help us prove the vertical angles theorem. But there's always needs to be a starting point. That's our postulate. Theorems are things that have been proven. So they have to be proven to be valid. And we can use postulates, definitions, and properties to prove theorems. And once a theorem's been proved, we can use those theorems to help prove new theorems. So that's what a theorem is. So a postulate is something that's accepted without proof. A theorem has to be proven before we accept it to be true. A definition is the meaning of a given term. Something that we might use in a proof, for example, is the definition of congruent. So you might have a step that says the measure of angle 1 equals the measure of angle 2. Well, if 2 angles' measures are equal, that means that those angles are congruent. So we might make this a step, and this is our next step, and our reason for being able to go from here to here or from here to here is the definition of congruence. It's giving us meaning for a specific term. So that's what the definitions are. Properties are ways normally to manipulate expressions. So for instance, we've been using a lot of these in our algebraic proofs. So like the addition property of equality allows us to manipulate expressions by adding something to both sides of an equal sign. The distributive property allows me to manipulate a number in front of parentheses. We can distribute it to all the values on the inside. So those are the 4 types of things that we're going to use for our proofs in geometry. And here is a list of all of the things that we can think of so far that you are going to need this unit. On this left side, there's a list of all of our algebraic properties, and I've kind of broken them up. These are the ones that you're going to use the most commonly in an algebraic proof. These 3 that you won't use quite as often right now, but we will use them in geometric proofs. These 2 we're not going to use very often, but you do need to know them. You're expected to know them. On this side, I have things that are more geometry based. So on top, there's 4 postulates and theorems. 3 of them are postulates over original building blocks, 1 theorem that we will use in our proofs, and then a list of 3 definitions that you might need to use along the way. So go ahead and pause this video and take a moment or 2 to copy all of these down onto your purple paper. We're going to keep that paper the whole year, and you're going to want to have access to it. So once again, go ahead and pause the video and write these down and come back in a moment.